I'm going to go through some of the basics of nomenclature and naming branched alkanes with you. The first thing you do need to know for all of this and throughout all of the organic chemistry are the basics from GCSE of naming carbon chains based on the number of carbons in them. So you remember that if you're one carbon, it'd be meth, 2 eth, 3 prop, 4 but, pent, hex, hept, oct, non, and dec. Okay. Now, this is always the root of the name based on the number of carbons. Now, if it's an alkane and you have a chain, and you have a chain with 3 carbons, then chain of 3 would be prop, it's an alkane, so you would say it would be propane, okay? Propane, if it was an alkane. So, for example, if you have CH4, that's an alkane, 1 carbon is meth, so it'd be methane. Now, that would give you the main part of the organic chemical name. But when you have branches, you have other carbons coming off the main chain. So for example, if you had a long chain, and I will just draw it skeletally, like that. If we had a long chain and you had a CH3 group attached to it, then that's not methane, but it is a meth group because it's got 1 carbon. So any side groups add the name YL on the end, il. So meth, and that would be a methyl group attached to the chain. So how do we use this? Well, if we look at, start with pentane. So pentane will have 5 carbons. And I'm going to put a methyl group on here. Now, you just have to remember this is a displayed formula because I have all the bonds being shown. So a quick little recap on structural formula. The structural formula of this would be CH3, CH, and the CH3 group up there. Then this carbon, well, this CH2 and this CH2, we've got the CH2 and the CH2 one after the next. So we can simplify that by using a bracket. So we say CH2, but it's repeated twice. And then you've got a CH3 at the end. So remember, that would be the structural formula. This is the displayed formula. Now in the displayed formula, we have pentane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all lowercase, pentane, keep it lowercase. We'll be adding other words usually in front of this, but we might have to modify this as well when we get into more complicated structures. So we have pentane and we have a CH3 group. Now that's a methyl group. Now, because we have a methyl group, we add it to the front of the name. We use it as a prefix. So we're going to say methyl. That's methyl pentane. And the last part is to indicate where that methyl group is, because at the moment it's on this carbon, right? The 2nd carbon from the end, but it could be on the 3rd carbon from the end, and that would be a different structure or a different isomer, and you may remember that term from GCSE. So the structure can be different. Remember, the methyl group can't be on the 1st carbon right down here, because that would actually mean that the chain would have a carbon. This carbon would be here. Then you have that one, that. That would actually be hexane. So this has to be on the 2nd carbon, or it could be on the 3rd carbon. So we have to number these carbons. Now, is this carbon 2? Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or is it carbon 4? Because we could start with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, the answer in this case is that you pick the number that would be lowest. So because this group here is closest to this end, we would call that carbon 1, that's carbon 2. So the methyl group's on carbon 2, so we'd say 2 dash methyl pentane. You always separate a number from a word with a dash. So that would be 2 methyl pentane.